The meeting of the Carrabelle City Commission is now in session. It's Thursday, December the 1st, 2022, and it's 6 p.m. We're conducting this meeting in the Carrabelle City Hall chambers, and we will open a prayer by Commissioner Millender, and then we will say the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. So please stand.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, again, thank you for another wonderful day that you have given us on this earth and the many blessings you have bestowed upon us. Again, we ask your guidance and your direction tonight. Give this board wisdom to conduct and handle the city business before us tonight for the welfare and the good of the city of Carrabelle. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, welcome everyone. It's good to see you. I'm glad you're here. We've got a full house for those who aren't here with us and watching on Facebook. I want to thank you all for silencing your phones in advance. I want to remind you again, if you want to speak during public comment or during the discussion portion of the agenda, any item on the agenda, you need to please complete a speaker card and submit it to the administrative staff. Now, all public comments are kept to a minimum of 3 minutes with a one-time visit to the podium per item. So plan out what you want to say very well so that you can say that. You can say a lot of good stuff in 3 minutes if you're planning it. Now, loud outbursts are not going to be allowed. We had a discussion on golf carts on Tuesday night. We had a lot of talking going on. We couldn't hear each other, even though I begged people to be quiet. So this time, we're not going to have loud outbursts. I'm not going to allow it. This is your warning. If you yell out from your seat, all I'm going to do is just point, and the officer in the back there will remove you. I don't want to have to operate like that. That's not the kind of person I am. But if you're going to act that way, then, you know, we don't want you to disturb the board while we're trying to make decisions and work for you all. And we want everyone to be able to hear what we're saying. Okay? Thank you. We're going to move to the consent agenda, where we're going to consider the November 3rd, 2022 commission meeting minutes, the November 17th special swearing in commission meeting minutes, and the attorney's invoices for October. Has everyone had an opportunity to review these documents on the board here?
Motion to approve.
Okay, and we have a motion to approve the consent agenda by Commissioner Millender. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
And that's second by Commissioner Brown. Do we have any discussion? Okay, and I just want to say under discussion that we are approving our special swearing in commission meeting minutes. And I want to introduce Commissioner Bill Gray. He was recently elected, and we're proud to have him on board, and those meeting minutes include your swearing in. And then Commissioner Millender was re-elected, and he was also sworn in during that time. So do we have any other discussion? Okay, then all in favor of this consent agenda? Okay, and that motion carries, Ms. Keisha. Now's the time for public comment. Do we have anyone that wants to speak under public comment? And this is for any item that you want to speak about that's not on the agenda.
Gail Mathis.
Okay, Ms. Mathis.
I'm representing the Franklin County Senior Services, and on November the 29th, the county that carries the contract for Franklin County came in and told us that on 31st of December, we'll be closing down, and they'll be closing down the center where the clients come in at 8 o'clock in the morning when we open till 4 and have coffee, and then have lunch at lunchtime, you know. and do arts and things, play games, whatever, you know. And the clients are really upset about it, we all are. And, we was just hoping maybe the city could help us, you know, to talk to area agency, maybe Delivery County, and see if they'll try to work something out to keep it open, you know. We just had one of the clients hired a man to come in and he painted the inside, and she paid for it to be done. So it had been fixing up, you know, and, we was just hoping maybe y'all could help us with, talking to area agency that carries the whole state, you know, and then Liberty County carrying our contract. They said the insurance with the trees around needed to be removed, and they needed some new wiring on the inside. Wiring board.
Well, Ms. Mathis, we're also sorry to hear this. I mean, when you brought it up the other evening to Commissioner Millender and myself, it was a shock. Who owns this building?
Florence, no, the Garden Club owned it, and Garden Club gave it to area agency a while back for as long as they would keep it for a senior services, for seniors to meet there, you know, for a center for them. When the big center closed down and didn't want area agency in there anymore. Mm-hmm. Then they put us right over there. We didn't go on unemployment or anything. They just took us right on over there. Because I've been in there for, this is like 32 years, with delivering meals and been into keeping the center open, you know. Mm-hmm. And so we was just, you know, hoping maybe there's a way y'all could help us out. I tried to call area agency to talk to Miss Lisa Brett. She's over, but she never returned the call. Mm-hmm. And Liberty County hadn't been any help with us for trying to talk to them.
And about how many hot meals or clients do y'all serve daily?
Now in the center there, sometimes we have like 10 of them coming in now and eating in there, you know, every day. And for home deliveries, we're not really doing that many in the whole county, not like we used to do.
On the eastern side of Franklin.
And in fact, Carrabelle's carrying as much as Eastport and Appalachia are carrying. But they say they're going to bring, they have to supply the meals on wheels. So they're going to say that they will bring them down from Liberty County, frozen, and they're going to deliver them out, you know. So that we get them. But,
does anyone have questions? I know Courtney has something to say, but I wanted to ask the commission, do y'all have questions at this point or comments?
I just have one comment, and the questions have pretty much been answered in my conversations with Ms. Mathis and discussions we had and what she just shared with us. But I'm gonna recommend, or I'm gonna make a motion that we, the city of Carrabelle, write a letter of support to the Carrabelle agency. What did you call it, Ms. Mathis?
the area agency.
Area agency, yeah. A letter of support and encouraging the continuation of that facility and that service for the seniors here in Carrabelle and surrounding area.
The VA man that works out of the county over there at the courthouse, he comes in every Thursday to meet with veterans and stuff that wants to come in there, and the spouses and they, you know, and to help them. And he's on our board. He's supposed to be representing Franklin County. And when he came in today and I talked to him, he didn't know anything about it. He said, I'm gonna go back and do some phone calls.
Okay.
He was even concerned about who owns the building too, you know. And he said the trees don't seem to him to be a big deal. Cheryl said it wouldn't be a big deal. Cheryl, Commissioner Sanders. And then the panel, you know, inside is rewiring that panel board, putting in a new one in there. That's what it is.
All right. Well, let us handle this motion first. Don't leave. So we have a motion by Commissioner Millender for the City of Carrabelle to write and send a letter of support to the area agency requesting them to continue their service. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, and that second is by Commissioner Brown. Is there any further discussion on this motion?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
This letter of support and justification is what I think would be appropriate support and justification for the service, and to be signed by the mayor.
Okay, any other discussion? All right, all in favor of the letter of support? Aye. Okay, and that motion carries. Now I wanted to ask Ms. Courtney, the county administrator
The
coordinator.
county administrator, Michael Barone, called me today, and he was looking for some space that maybe the city had some space that they could set up. He was really interested in the old high school building, but I explained that we had that under contract and it was fixing to be demolitioned and it wasn't habitable. But suggested that maybe one of the local churches would let them set up in the fellowship hall. So he was gonna work on that.
And we had talked about this with the staff today, I did, and Ms. Keisha suggested that maybe we have several local tree services. You know, maybe they would, maybe they could get together even and donate their services. One service to one side of the building, another service to the other side. I went over there to see you today, this afternoon. I think I was too late, y'all were closed. But the first thing when I pulled up, I noticed right off that the place is covered in trees. You can barely see the building, and I don't blame the, you know, the insurance company for wanting, you know, all of this cut back off that building. Possibly, you know, an electrical service in the area would donate their services to take care of this electrical panel issue that you have as well. And did you have a comment, Commissioner? Okay. And so, you know, we'll send a letter and we'll follow along and see, you know, what happens. We certainly want to.
We sure appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for your service.
I've got Gail Baxley. Did you still want to speak?
I think she covered it all.
Okay.
We wanted to make sure.
And then Trish Messick.
Yes.
You want to speak?
Yes.
The center has been here for years. There are a lot of people here that need the services that aren't provided.
Okay.
If there were any way that y'all could talk to the county and maybe get Franklin County to help support us instead of Liberty County. I mean, it has gone from Wakulla County to Liberty County, and now they're dropping us again. So, I had just set up with line services for my husband to have some mobility training again, refresher. I mean, you know, there are all kinds of services that are needed. A lot of shut-in ladies and gentlemen that are older that wouldn't have the help if it weren't for Gail and the rest of them. And they welcomed us with open arms. I mean, it makes you feel good. So if there's any way, even contacting the county to see if they would take over some of the services and help us.
Okay, and I have heard in the past, I've heard the county having, the county commission having several discussions in years past on who is going to manage this elder care service here in Franklin County. They have a difficult time finding a management.
I don't understand.
I don't either, but I think too, then I think we could also send a letter of support and request to Franklin County Board of County Commissioners, asking them to please give this some strong consideration to reconsider
Our
bringing
seniors
this
lived
into
here all
the
their
county.
lives, and they've worked here and supported the community. It's their turn.
Mhm. And so I'll make that in the form of a motion as well to send another letter of support and request to Franklin County, asking them to reconsider bringing this into the
They
county.
do it over in Appalachia. They can do it.
Second.
Okay, and that's a motion by Mayor LaPaz, second by Commissioner Millender. Is there any other discussion? And thank you, Ms.
Thank you.
Messick. Okay, all in favor? Any opposed? That motion carries.
I'm sorry, who was the second?
That was Commissioner Millender. Okay, is there anyone else for public comment? Anyone else for public comment? All right, then we'll move to our commissioners' reports, and we have Commissioner Walden. Do you have something for us this evening? Okay, and Commissioner Brown?
I do. Lori couldn't be here from the chamber, so she asked me to say a little something, and then I have some other things. Holiday on the Harbor is next Saturday, December 10th, from 1 p.m. to 8 p.m. The Marine Street businesses will be open at 10 a.m. The boat parade starts at dark 30, followed by fireworks. They are looking for volunteers and accepting more vendors and sponsors, so if you would like to participate, please contact Lori at the Carrabelle Chamber. The Franklin County Technology Project is collecting data on internet speeds throughout the county to map out where internet is inadequate. To take the speed test, you can find the link on my Commissioner Facebook page or Google DEO Office of Broadband. Please take this test at home and at your work. This helps, it gives us a better idea of what internet speeds are in our area and where it is inadequate. This data is being collected to use to apply for state grants to aid in providing better and more accessible internet to our area, so it's very important. If you or someone you know needs assistance enrolling in the federal marketplace health insurance plans, the Big Bend Area Health Education Center will be set up at Holiday on the Harbor on December 10th. On December 16th, they'll be at the Carrabelle Library from 9 a.m. to 12:30. Then at the dental office here in Carrabelle from 1:30 to 4:30. On December 29th at the East Point Library from 1 to 5 p.m. I'll also post their contact information on my Commissioner Facebook page. And enrollment began on November 1st and it ends January 15th. It's been my pleasure to serve as one of your Carrabelle City Commissioners for the last year, and I hope you all have a Happy New Year and a Merry Christmas.
Okay, thank you very much. Happy New Year and Merry Christmas, Commissioner Brown. All festive this evening. Okay, Commissioner Mellinger?
The only thing I had, and Commissioner Brown just covered it, this will be our last meeting, I guess, well, maybe before Christmas.
You never know what.
Just wish a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to everyone, and a safe and happy Christmas and Happy New Year. Thank you.
Commissioner Gray, do you have anything for us this evening?
Really the same. Wish everybody a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Okay, good. Merry Christmas. Okay, for you all, I'm giving everyone a Merry Christmas gift, and I'm not going to give a report this evening. They usually run. But I do want to thank John Lee with our water and sewer department for polishing up our crane truck, the water and sewer department crane truck, and the excavator, and the mini excavator, and the new trailer that's out there. I asked for them to bring that over so you all can see some of the capital projects funding, how we spend our funding for capital projects. Ms. Courtney's going to tell all about that under her report. Thank you. And I want to thank the Streets and Roads Department, which now is just down to 2 crew members. Mr. Dustin Putnell, who's the superintendent, and Mr. Tevin Jones, and we are looking for more streets, and we have advertisement out for hire. But I want to thank them for decorating our little city for Christmas. It's beautiful, and I appreciate the work they do. And thank you very much, and Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to everyone. Okay, Mr. Attorney, Mr. Hartman.
Right. Although everyone likes to hear from attorneys around Christmas time, I too will give a gift. No report.
But I want you to call for, tell us about Mayor Pro Tem. We need to do that. This is the first
Yes.
meeting. Okay.
So at this meeting, the membership of the commission would elect one of its own, absent the mayor, to be the mayor pro, serve as Mayor Pro Tem. So you can do that at your pleasure at this meeting.
And what we need then is a nomination.
I'll nominate Commissioner Brown.
Okay. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, very good. So we have a motion for Commissioner Brown to be Mayor Pro Tem, and we have a second by Commissioner Walden. Do we have any discussion? Do we have any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? And that motion carries. All right.
Thank you so much.
Okay, congratulations. Do we have any questions for the city attorney? I do. I'm just concerned about our CR plan update, and will we be doing that by ordinance or resolution? And we'll need to do that soon.
Yes.
Okay.
And I'll prepare that for to take action.
All right, okay, thank you so much. All right, Ms. Courtney will give our city administrator
I
report.
sent out all of our department reports. Does anyone have any questions? Right. As you have been told, we have a crane truck and a mini excavator parked outside. The crane truck was bought in 2020. I don't believe it was delivered until 2021. We ordered it in 2020 and paid for it. It was $113,618. And they use that truck to pull pumps and big equipment like at lift stations and such. Then our Bobcat we just got this year in August of 2022, it was $62,069.89. That's a brand new piece of equipment that we've only had for a few months. And we've already used it several times,
Yes,
so
that's what
on
you
several
said.
projects.
And the trailer that it's on is new as well.
Yes, it's a new trailer, I did not get mine in the
I
price.
don't know, I can't remember what that was, but that's how we spent for capital projects investments so that we
And
don't.
both of those are out of the water and sewer fund, which is a separate fund than our general fund. It's an enterprise fund and it funds itself.
Mhm.
And a little explanation for the public, if you correct me if I'm wrong, Courtney. Prior to the purchase of those particular pieces of equipment she just described, we were having to pay contractors to come in and lift certain pumps out, dig certain things. We were having to pay contractors. Now, we can do it in-house. So,
Yes. Mhm. All right, okay, very good. You've got some.
I've got some more.
Okay.
We have approved a quote for the McKissick Beach Dune Walkover, and the project should begin early in December. He said as soon as he finishes the project that he's on, he'll start that one. So we expect to have that complete by first of the year. We are still taking applications for streets and roads and water and sewer employees. We have an ad that ran in the paper today. We'll take applications until next week and start interviewing. Except for on streets and roads, we'll keep taking them until we find someone that's qualified. And then I would like to ask, this was a request that I received from Ms. Mel Kelly, so I would ask the attorney and the city commissioners. She asked that we consider creating an ordinance that mandates city businesses to have on site at their business location garbage pickup with the resource so identified when they receive their business license. So, for example, when they come in to get their business license, they would have to provide proof that they had a garbage pickup service. So, if you guys would like for that to happen, or can we do that? I'm not sure.
I'm very careful around garbage pickup stuff. I've had a crash course in it in a number of ways. And I can look into that to see if it is something we can require of businesses, even though we do not require it. So I can check into it and then report back.
Okay.
Normally, I would say, yes, we could require that, but I don't want to I don't want to make any assumptions. There's a lot of, the solid waste lobbyists have been busy with the statutes. So, anyways.
Okay, all right, thank you. We'll hear from you next month on
Yes.
that. All right.
And that's all I have, unless you have any questions for me.
Okay, I do. I got a phone call late this afternoon from Mr. Keith Lucas, and he was calling representing the Emergency Operations Center. He's requesting to place a radio repeater on the Carrabelle Water Tower here in town at the corner of Northwest 2nd and Northwest E. They want to set up a countywide communication system for the EOC. And this would be separate from any other agency communication system like the Sheriff Department. And this would include an antenna, he said an antenna, a box, I don't know what he meant by that, and then AC power connection, but he says there's already a repeater under the tower, so he knows there's power there now. So I'm asking you to talk with Mr. Charlie and see what he thinks, and I don't know if we have to approve that, or if there's some documentation or agreement or something that has to be done. But I'll let y'all work that out behind the scenes and report back to us.
Okay.
Okay, is that all right? Okay, very good. Thank you. And anything else for Courtney? Okay, then we'll move to Ms. Keisha, our city clerk.
I got some dates and some meetings, so, December 15th is our planning and zoning meeting at 2 p.m. As tentative. We haven't had one in a couple months, so, as of now, I don't have anything, but if they do meet the deadline, then we would have one. The December 20th CRA meeting has been canceled. City Hall will be closed, I think that's Friday the 23rd and Monday the 26th, and to observe Christmas. And we will also be closed half a day on December 30th, that's a Friday, and closed Monday, January the 2nd for New Year's Day. And then our next city commission is January 5th, 2023, sounds so crazy to say, at 6 p.m.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone have questions or comments for Keisha? All right, thank you very much, Keisha. And then we'll move on to Mr. Russell Large with Inovia.
Thank you. Just a brief report tonight on our FDOT SCOP grant. We're coordinating with the contractor and DOT for reimbursement. And then on the new SCOP project, that's the Baywood Drive improvements, we did prepare an updated cost estimate of that. It increased by about 20%. So that went from a 1.5 million to 1.9 million. So we'll be preparing that application, and we have until March to submit that, but we'll coordinate that with Courtney and get that in January. On our lighthouse project, the water main construction is 100% complete. The testing is complete, and the pressure testing passed there. There's still a bacteriological test that needs to be completed on the water. The force main construction is 100% complete. That testing is continuing into next week. On the new Carrabelle Cemetery, I noted that we were waiting for the survey to be completed in order to order geotechnical. So we're just monitoring the completion. It has, okay, good. Okay, so I'll coordinate that with you then, Courtney. On the Ryan Drive Drainage Improvement Project, I would like to send a big thank you to John Lee and Justin Messer. They brought out that mini excavator. Steve from our office was able to find the end of that cross drain pipe. Wow. Amazing. So it was found. It had an old tire in it and a rock, and it was backfilled. And so the mini excavator, John used that to clear it out. And then we had the surveyor who was in town. He was able to come out and take a shot for us before we covered it back up. So that's good news. And I did provide a task order to Courtney for the Ryan Drive project. You may have that in your packet. Okay. And on the Avenue C overflow boat parking, the survey field work I believe is complete, but we haven't received the survey yet. Also have that task order in your package. And then we did prepare some cost estimates related to golf cart crossings on US 98. I see we have an agenda item, so I can hold that information.
That'd be fine for
okay.
that.
Okay.
For the golf cart crossing.
Okay, very good. Okay, that completes my report.
All right, do we have questions for Mr. Large?
No, no questions, but just a comment, and thank you, Russell, for especially that issue in resolving that I know since I've been on the board for 5 years, we've asked about where that outlet's at. And the water and sewer and the benefit of having that new mini
Right.
excavator, that's another
Paid
example
off.
of how well it pays off.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
And thank you for getting that taken care of.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Russell, are you going to want approval for your task orders here that you've submitted, is that?
Yes,
Okay.
if that does take commission action, yes.
Okay, I've got questions.
Okay.
On your overflow boat parking, you've got 14,800, but I'm assuming that does not include construction cost of materials.
That's correct.
Okay. Do we have any kind, we don't have any kind of guesstimate what that's gonna be?
I think we estimated last time that it would be in the 60 to 70,000 range if we're using gravel. But once we get a little further into the design, we'll be able to nail that cost down more clearly.
Mhm. Okay, and, all right, so I'm not gonna call for a motion on that one just yet. I'm gonna talk about this other one, this Ryan Drive drainage improvements. And, that one is 13,200, and so then I assume also that one does not include the construction and materials.
Correct.
Okay, so this is just for, engineering and
Permitting.
design and permitting.
Yes.
Okay. All right, and then the golf course, golf cart one, we'll look at that here in just a minute when we get to that agenda. Do we, since, we got these at last minute, and I'm thinking that everyone hasn't had a good chance to read all of this. Can we vote on this in January?
Certainly.
Is that all right? Is that all
Certainly.
right for you all to take care of this in January?
I would like to look at it a little bit further and have some more discussion. I think that'd be great.
Okay.
Sure.
Holidays doesn't much get done in that.
But now I have something that I want to bring up to the commission, and I advised Russell that, and I took some notes. I talked with Charlie and Courtney about it, about the wastewater treatment plant permit renewal. And the DEP requires that to be done every 5 years. And the deadline for our wastewater treatment plant to submit the 5-year permit application was October the 22nd, 2022. So we've missed that. And the request, and it was sent, we submitted the request to Innovia the 1st of June, the first week of June. And the permit allows our wastewater treatment plant to continue operations, and it's the most important permitting process that the water and sewer department has. And I know that Courtney's been reaching out to you most every week, trying to understand where are we in this process, and now it's December the 1st, and the application we still don't have it. And this is hard because I've never had to say anything like this to you before, so it's difficult. Now, the DEP has legal counsel, and they've reported that since the application is in the works, it's considered a minor infraction. But as time goes by, there comes a point when the DEP, they won't allow the wastewater treatment plant to take on any additional accounts until the application is complete and the permit is issued. And this is only really would be the first draft, because the DEP takes that application for a permit and they review it, and if they don't like it, they may send back comments, and that's the way they operate. So, and I know Mr. Large has a lot of things on his list for us, and we're not Innovia's only client. I know that, I'm aware of it. So with all of that, I'm requesting that this board direct Mr. Large to please place this project at the top of his priority list, at the top of this list right here, for Carrabelle. And we know there's major ongoing projects, the Lighthouse State Water and Sewer, but that's, you've reported, it's 100% 100% complete with testing. There's not design and permitting going on. It's just, follow-up. Of course, I don't know everything that goes on with that. The Marine Street CDBG, we're just waiting for them to let the funds on that. You have till March to do your SCOP grant with the FDOT for Baywood. And so the Southeast 9th Street paving project's completed, or the Hill project. So I'm saying, let's please direct Mr. Large to let these, and that's one of the reasons I asked, let's just don't vote on these 2 projects until next month, that it gives us a good time to look at them. It will keep them off Mr. Russell's plate and let him, concentrate on our wastewater treatment plant application for permitting. Yes, sir.
Thank you for that. And the application and reports and supporting documentation was submitted to DEP.
Okay.
On or about October I don't know I can't remember the exact date, but is around October 25th, ahead of the expiration. DEP did review that information.
Mm-hmm.
They provided us with review comments. So we addressed all of that. We've addressed all of those comments except for one item, which is an operation and maintenance report. And that document, I have a draft of it prepared, and there's just a few sections remaining to complete on that project, on that particular report. And Courtney and Charlie will have to take a look at that report and sign it, and we'll submit that back to DEP. So I did contact the reviewers at DEP within the month of October to let them know that we were addressing their comments, and we had that final report to complete. And they told me that, go ahead and finish it, get it complete. There was no consequence since we had submitted the application. So just, I'm letting you know that's where we are. So we've got that last bit remaining to complete, and we have been communicating with DEP to let them know where we were. So we will.
Well, that's
finish.
wonderful.
We will
because
finish.
This
we will
is
finish
what
that.
Charlie reported to me today.
Okay.
And they both, the first of the week, said they had not heard any report on this, from you, what was, the process and how it was proceeding. So, it's important that we get it done. And if it's okay with you all, let him put this on the top of his list and do what it takes to get it done.
As far as me, it's fine with me, Mayor, to put it on top of this list, but his explanation he just gave sounds to me like he's on top of it.
Yeah, it's quite a lot of information to pull together.
It's a big process.
In the report, there's a lot to it. It's just taking time.
And I understand it takes about 6 months. And it wasn't requested to Innovia until June. And it does, and it takes about 6 months. So, however we can work with you to get it done, and Courtney and Charlie, just, whatever it takes. And we're in good standing with the DEP, and we want to stay that way. And thanks to your help, we're in good standing with the DEP.
Yes, and I knew that expiration was occurring, so I made sure I communicated with them, and they expressed, that it was acceptable that we were continuing to work on it.
And we did notice you were working on it, we just hadn't gotten
The finished product.
We hadn't gotten the permit.
Right.
Okay, thank you very much. We appreciate your work, and Russell is always, he's done a lot of good work for us. I've known you 11 years, and I appreciate everything that you do and all your advisement to us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We appreciate Carrabelle.
Okay, thank you very much. We have any other comments for Russell? Okay. And then we'll take up your 2 task orders in January. That's all right.
Very good, thank you.
Okay. All right, so we will move on to the advisory board reports, and we have the Carrabelle Waterfront Partnership. Ms. Tamara, did you have anything important that you needed to bring up?
No, thank you.
Okay, and then we have the, and thank you, Tamara, for your service, and Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
We have the Carrabelle Aviation Advisory Board report. Mr. Sullivan, did you have anything?
Yeah, I'd like to.
Okay.
I listened to the meeting you had yesterday, and I saw the gentleman come up talking about the hangars. I know we've talked about this before, but I just wanted to say 2 things about it is, as far as restricting who we can rent those hangars out to, you can't do that. When we first got the advisory board together, Greg Newman had brought that up at the first meeting, and we thought it was a good idea. We researched it, and with the grant money from FDOT, you just can't do that. The hangar wait list we have now, we are up to 20, but what I want everybody to know is that with the city administrator, the aviation advisory board, and the commissioners are doing everything they can to expedite the process of getting more hangars. And FDOT, we developed a very good relationship with them. We got that master plan done, and we're on the way to the hangars, and you guys have helped out an awful lot in that, and it's coming, but it's going to be a while. It is on the master plan, and a lot of the money is already there, so we're moving as fast as we can. Anything else? All right,
Okay,
thanks.
thank you, Mr. Sullivan, for your volunteer work. I mean, he does everything for the airport, even mow the grass out there, so we thank you so much. And then next we have Mr. Tom Magnan. He's serving on our HR committee, and he serves as the chair and moderator, and actually as the secretary is also, he does the minutes for the HR committee.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Good evening, commissioners,
Good evening.
and welcome to you, Commissioner Gray. The HR committee met on November 9th. Our first task was to go over the last commission's meeting and kind of review what was said at that. And we know that the superintendent of the Streets and Roads Department was put in charge of the new employee when that employee gets hired. And that we also talked about the rate of pay for the new hire for the maintenance landscaping position. I believe that's the official name right now, isn't it, Courtney? And that was delayed for discussion at the CRA meeting on the 15th, and it was, and I think people, everybody on the board of the CRA was comfortable with that 13 to 13.50 pay. And then we went on in the meeting to talk about the new job description, and which Courtney had written, and we went over it line by line, made a few minor changes, but pretty much left it intact. We also talked about how that job description interacts with the landscape manual, the CRA manual, and how it would be used to kind of itemize all the things that the new position, the person who has that position will be responsible for in the CRA district. We also know that that job description was brought up at the CRA meeting on the 15th, and I believe a few things were changed, and there were some minor changes, and you're going to be taking a look at those tonight and voting on those two documents, the job description and the CRA manual. At the point, if those are approved tonight, that would be the end of the HR committee for the time being. We will have completed our task. That was our goal, to get those two things ready for the new hire. The other thing that we discussed at the meeting was the new holiday, the new federal holiday, Juneteenth. And that came up at the previous meeting too. And at the meeting on the 9th, Courtney had contacted several other cities, mostly, I believe. Is that right, Courtney? They're mostly cities that you contacted?
Yes, mostly municipalities in some counties.
Yeah. And really had some really mixed results of that. The goal being kind of to see what other governmental bodies were doing with that Juneteenth holiday. So the HR committee, with that in mind, and knowing that, it is a new federal holiday, it is meaningful to a lot of people, but also realizing that it's a budget issue as well. So what the HR committee is recommending to the commissioners is that holiday be established at a 4-hour rate of pay, 4 hours of pay, holiday pay for that holiday. So that would bring the number of holidays for employees from 12.5 days to 13 days a year. And of course, that is entirely up to the board to take care of that. That's how the HR committee kind of decided was the fairest way to deal with that issue. And I think that's about it. Anybody have any questions?
Any questions? Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Magnan. Now, I would say they may not stay for the entire meeting, and the CRA job description approval or disapproval and manual is that's the very last on our agenda. If we have any questions, I would just recommend that we would speak to Mr. Magnan about that now. If we have questions on that particular item.
I don't have any questions, but again, Mr. Tom, thank you very much for your volunteer hard work.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Okay. All right, thank you, Mr. Magnan. We appreciate it so much. And thank you. We call, the HR committee sits on call, and when we have a need for something along those lines, he'll come and moderate and chair the meeting, the committee, and do the minutes for them. Thank you. As a volunteer. Then we'll move on. We don't have a report from the Crooked River Lighthouse this evening. So then the next on the agenda is a public hearing, of which we have none this night. And then quasi-judicial hearing. There is no quasi-judicial this evening. So we'll move on to new business. Item 1 under new business is discussion and possible action concerning a 2 COP beer and wine license at 203 Northwest 6th Street. And this is requested by Ryan Brisbane. And this is a consumption on premises request. And I would like to ask Ms. Keisha, is this a license request for a facility that wish to sell both beer and wine on premises for consumption? For consumption. Okay. And hello, Mr. Brisbane, nice to see you.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening.
And then I'm just going to ask you one more thing. Is this location, 203 Northwest 6th Street, is this outside the restricted areas that are designated in Ordinance 443?
Yes, it is. I checked.
Well, I'll save you some time, and I'll go ahead and motion to approve the request for the 2 COP beer and wine license at 203 Northwest 6th Street.
Second.
Okay. And we have that motion by Mayor LaPaz, second by Commissioner Millender. Now we'll have discussion. welcome. We're glad to see you. We're glad to see you. Want to tell us about your project that you have going there?
Yeah,
Okay.
might as well. Thank
Yes,
you.
please do while you're here.
Well, thank you guys, and thank you Keisha and Courtney for the hundreds of questions I've had for you. Boy, between Tuesday night and tonight, I picked a bad week to overcome my fear of public speaking. It's a big crowd. But most importantly, I'd just like to thank the citizens of Carrabelle for being so supportive, inquisitive, actually very inquisitive about this operation here, and also enthusiastic to just a new person in town and a new venture, and it's been really nice. So, I think that's all I've got. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. So I'm opening a breakfast and lunch restaurant called Morning Bite. I'm sorry. Probably the most important part. And yeah, I'm just wondering if I could serve beer and wine at the restaurant.
Okay, well, let's have a vote on it and see if you can. All right, okay, you have a question?
I do.
Okay.
You told us what you're gonna have, but when?
My answer from now on is just 2 weeks. It doesn't matter if it's a month from now.
All right, we're looking forward to that. Okay, so then there's a motion to approve this beer and wine consumption on premises request for Mr. Brisbane. Morning Bite is all in favor? Excuse me, are we in favor? Who's in favor? I'm nervous. We all have public speaking issues. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
All right, I appreciate it. Thank you. I'm sorry, I have one last question. If we happen to open at 5 a.m., are people going to be able to bring golf carts to the restaurant?
I'm not sure. We may re-vote on that one. Okay, thank you, good luck.
Thank you.
Okay, now we're gonna move to old business. Do we need to take a break, or are we doing okay? Okay, we're gonna take a recess here for about 5 to 8 minutes, okay? So we're going to just take a little recess. We are reconvening this meeting here on December the 1st, the Carrabelle regular city commission meeting. And we'll move right on to old business, and that's item 1. And it's discussion and possible action regarding enactment of a golf cart ordinance. And I'm just going to toss it on to Mr. Hartman and let him review the amended ordinance that we discussed on Tuesday evening.
Okay, so on Tuesday evening, the commission provided some guidance on what you all wanted to see in kind of the next draft, as well as some questions that were tossed to me to answer. And what I'd like to do is go through the draft that you have in front of you, which is the latest draft, kind of review the high points, and maybe I'll leave, and we'll get to those questions because they're answered in the redraft of it. So on the first page of the ordinance, there's just a minor language change to cover golf carts on streets and roads within the city instead of city streets and roads, recognizing that we have some county roads within the city, and as long as they are 2-lane roads, the city can designate them to be used, crossed, used, that sort of thing for golf cart traffic. So I made that change throughout. On the second page, just some general language regarding operation of golf carts during non-daylight hours, requiring the lights and that sort of thing, but basically taking out the, basically if you have a golf cart and it doesn't have lights and basically nighttime operation equipment, then you can only operate it during daylight. If you have that proper equipment, you can operate it during non-daylight hours. Then, this was the question that was asked of me, the next section 7 in section 2, golf carts, the age restriction. So, looked at the AGO opinions, looked for any other opinions from the Attorney General's office, talked to the Attorney General's office, went through all the case law and what they call statutes annotated. This one's interesting. So my recommendation is, well, I shouldn't say recommendation, we have two paths here. There is the 2002 Attorney General opinion that says 14 years old and that it cannot be age restricted. The language talking about allowing more restriction went in, meaning allowing cities to adopt more restrictive ordinances as to operation and equipment. That language came in 2005. However, it is definitely a gray area whether we can restrict or we can push the age up to 15, 16, 17, that sort of thing. That is a gray area. So we really, from a legal perspective, we have two paths. Going with 14 is safe, meaning we just wouldn't have, there would be no recognizable challenge to that. However, I would recommend if we wanted to use a different age than 14, meaning an older age, that we would get an Attorney General opinion. And that, again, in my conversations with their office, that's what they recommend. They say, hey, you can certainly apply to us for an opinion. That process would take 3 to 6 months once it was submitted. So, and I know we're on a timeline here potentially, right? But, so those are, to me, the recommended options, right? We have two options. One, we can proceed at 14 safely, or we can ask for an opinion from the Attorney General's office, and we would get that in 3 to 6 months. So I'll keep going, but that's for your all's consideration. And then one other thing, let's see. So we had there's some language on the utility vehicles, special events, so all that, you see that. The other thing that was interesting, talking to the chief, we have more than just the two-lane county roads mentioned, Ryan Drive and 67. We have Timber Island, Airport Road, and River Road. And certainly, if I'm missing one, we do need to address those, or at least contemplate them as we're looking here, because it's your job to determine whether you want to allow the operation of golf carts on city streets based on speed, volume, and type of traffic on those streets, right? So it's a safety consideration. And again, just from a purely legal perspective, I mean, that is a burden you have, consideration you must make, right? You got to decide, and what we're doing here is we're doing it by exception. So we say, here, for instance, on Ryan Drive, we have, in section 2, we say golf carts may be operated on all streets and roads within the city with the following exceptions. And we have the crossings on 98, as it's written in this draft. We have crossings on Ryan Drive, and we have a crossing on 67. So any street not mentioned here would be treated like any other city street, and golf carts would be allowed on them, right? Just as they would on just Avenue K, Avenue I, anything like that. So that's something we do need to think about. I whispered to Russell before the meeting saying, he's our engineer, he does a lot of traffic analysis throughout the city. He might have some recommendations on where he thinks it's safe to operate, put him on the spot, where it's safe to operate on, really the two-lane county roads are the ones I think of because people go faster on those. They go past the posted speed limit. That's why in the draft we did a crossing on Ryan Drive, not necessarily going from Three Rivers all the way to 98 on Ryan Drive, right? Because people get going fast on there, and that's a consideration. If you have a 20-mile-an-hour golf cart on the road, you want, even if they're breaking the law going fast, they can be going 45 miles an hour and come up on 100. So that's, to me, what y'all should really chew on tonight with public input and input from Russell. Is there anything else you all saw in there that you have questions for me on?
Then there was the update on section 7, part 2.
Yes,
with
and
the police department.
Yes, so what we talked about doing there is simply following Florida statutes, which I can pull it up, but basically it certainly allows, it would be just enforced like any other traffic infraction. So it would be the police writing tickets, writing warnings, that sort of thing if you're in violation.
Commissioner Melander suggested that instead of it saying police, it says officer, because you may have a sheriff's deputy that's enforcing this and not just a city police officer.
Law
That's a good idea,
enforcement.
yeah.
Law enforcement officer.
And that is covered in the statute, and we're referring to the statute, but that's a good clarification.
I noticed something that wasn't updated that we did discuss. Section 2, the golf carts, and number 1, we discussed that it would be 35 miles per hour, but it was left at 25. I just
Got it, yes, okay, so let me change that. And this is what was, well, yes, that's fine, change that.
I have a quick question for Dan.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay.
Do we need to put a fine amount in here, or would that be a traffic fine, a movement?
Traffic.
Okay.
I have a question on the 35 miles per hour, and it was brought up briefly the other night. Commissioner Brown brought it up under, and I did find it under low-speed vehicles, their description of that under Florida Department of Highway Safety and Motor Vehicles. There is a conflict, and they give the description of golf carts, that they may be operated on roadways that are designated for golf carts, posted with a posted speed limit of 30 miles per hour or less. So, there's a conflict there between that and the statute. And I'm just bringing that forth, not necessarily wanting to argue the issue, but I just want you to know that there is a conflict on that. Now, I do want to make a suggestion on the age issue, because reaching out for an attorney general opinion is an option, because we did, some of us want 14, some of us want 15. I've talked to everyone that I've talked to about this. Really would like to see a higher age, around 16. But we know that we've set some type of a time frame. In fact, I saw it posted on Facebook that we would be signing the ordinance or enacting it on January the 5th. So I guess there's some time frame set. So I would suggest that we take the safe route on the age, as you suggested, Mr. Hartman. And then if this board decides that the age needs to be raised to 15 or 16 or whatever, then we could go out for an attorney general opinion. It takes 3 to 6 months, and then we can always come back and amend the ordinance. Amending ordinances is a common thing that's done, and by that time, if we're 6 months, a year into it, we may realize that we need to do some other amendments, or add roads, or take roads, or we just don't know. Evidently what we're trying to do is get the golf carts back in operation in some fashion as soon as possible. So that's what I would suggest for the age issue. Do we agree on that?
Oh, you took the words out of my mouth. I was
Okay.
going to suggest that. Like I said, we can make amendments at any time.
Mhm.
And the the urgency is just to get the golf cart use safely and legally back out on the streets.
Okay.
I'm good.
So we agree on that. Are there any other?
Agree on 14.
Well, that's what we've got to do for now.
The other night, I said 15, but after listening to what our attorney said, if the Attorney General says 14, it's 14.
And if we decide we want to do something else, we can reach
If it
out.
gets to the point where we see it's too dangerous, maybe later we can change it.
We'll ask the Attorney General's office if we can change it.
Yes, so thank you for getting that information, because I
Sure.
was definitely didn't know that.
Yeah, this is a lot more complicated than it
Yeah.
should be.
We want to go to safe food out here. The Attorney General of Florida said 14, that's good enough for me. Yeah.
And Courtney, actually, is this on their copies? It is not.
No, I just spoke with Commissioner Melander on this before the meeting.
Got it.
He
Okay.
has suggested removing these times in the, under utility vehicles in the, where it talks about special events.
Got it. So the suggestion was in number 3 and number 4, but in number 3, to remove the 30 minutes after and 30 minutes before sunset, that, you know, and obviously for, let's see, after sunset, yeah, just so if we have a festival or something down there that runs into the night, that they'd be allowed. And then number 4, I guess deleting the, again, the time period. So we're not restricting ourselves in the event, during a special event. We can-
So tell me how that would read.
It would
Because I don't
read,
want the utility vehicle operators to get a misunderstanding. Actually, what I want it to be is easy for the people that will be enforcing this to be able to enforce it. And I want the wording to be very clear.
the wording, the new wording would be: a utility vehicle may be operated during a city-approved special event within the special event area as authorized by, I guess, the city administrator?
Yeah, or we approved, like we approved the closing of the streets for the holiday on the harbor.
So we'll do it as authorized by the
That's it.
commission. And then for the next one, it would be a utility vehicle equipped with headlights, brake lights, maybe operated during a city-approved special event within the time period authorized by the city commission.
Is that just saying the same thing twice?
There, it looks like you got
One with headlights and
One
one
with
without.
headlights
One
and
with
one
all
without.
with and one without.
So do you want?
So yeah, you're authorizing non-head, it is, you know what, I'll put them together.
So the Commissioner Melander and the other commissioners, y'all want the utility vehicle without lights to operate at night?
Well, typically during a festival, it's super well lit, and they're not driving around on the dark side streets. It's just picking up garbage back and forth, so I don't know if most of their vehicles have lights, but I wouldn't want to restrict them. Because, I mean, it is pretty lit up, and they are in that restricted area. They're not on the road with other vehicles.
So, and you all decided that y'all don't want headlights then?
That's not
Okay.
what I said.
Okay.
Okay. Maybe I assumed, Mr. Attorney, but in my discussion with the city administrator is to simplify some of those, not being repetitive, but to follow what Florida statute requires. And that's, bottom line.
Yeah, no problem.
And headlights is part of that.
I got it, I'm gonna combine those.
Do they require headlights?
They do.
Okay. All right, so then the Florida, you just,
I'm not the expert.
I got it.
but I want to know what has been decided.
I'm assuming that the headlights are going to be required.
Okay, so do you want to leave a number 3 and number 4, one for daytime operation? A utility vehicle may be operated during a city-approved special event within a special event area. Period?
I'll fix this and you all like it.
Okay.
I mean, as far as, if that's the consensus, meaning, I'm just gonna say the required equipment for the time of day and
Yeah.
like that, yeah.
Okay. And then they can operate, if it takes them all night to take care, close up the special event, then they can do that as well.
If the special event has been authorized and they go into, I don't think take off, I
Yeah.
understand what you're saying, but if it takes till 11 o'clock at night, then they're good to go.
Okay. And also, you know, we'll see how this goes, and we may have, if we amend, we'll amend.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. Was there anything else that you had discussed with Ms. Courtney that we need to know?
She had already mentioned it, the issue, I mean, where we, in there was specifying city police officers and enforcement. It's not city police officers, it'd be
Just law
certified
enforcement.
officers.
Okay. Now, that's good, thank you. All right, is there anything else that you all had discussed that we need to know about?
Are we gonna discuss the roads?
Yes, so I think that is very important because that's going to, we need to, again, so just so everybody has it clear in their head, Section 2 talks about areas where we're only allowing road crossings, not people to operate them on those roads. So the vast majority of city streets, we don't mention them specifically because we're saying, hey, golf carts are allowed, period. We're designating almost everything, and we're excluding just a very few things. And one thing we did not talk about, we did not contemplate, is as it stands, for instance, if we left the draft ordinance as it is, then Airport Road, River Road, Timber Island Road,
67.
not 67, so the ones that aren't mentioned here, so.
CR 30.
CR 30, you can operate golf carts on them, you know, period. So, and is that the intent? You know, what I was worried about in reading it was, and when I talked to the chief, it was like, you know, we never talked about those roads. People do go fast on those roads. There's not a ton of traffic on, say, Airport Road. But do you want, is it your intent? Like, we wouldn't want to pass the ordinance and go, oh man, should have thought of Airport Road, you know?
And River Road.
And River Road, you know, and that's it, Airport Road, River Road, Timber Island Road. And as you say, CR 30. Those are all two-lane county roads within the city. So how do you want to treat those? Do you want to treat them as, I mean, you have options, right? You can say, hey, we want to let golf carts ride up and down them. We want to create potential crossings on them. Or we want to put them on here as, no, we don't want people on golf carts on those roads.
Are all of these roads, are any of them above 35 miles per hour? Do we know that? Do we have that?
I don't think they are. I think they're all 35 or lower.
It's 35 till the prison, I believe.
So in the city limits, it's 35.
No, it's 35.
It's 35.
And that's on 67. And as far as it is now, for instance, right now, for the roads that are listed, all we've got is crossings on them. So you're not, it's, yeah, if a golf course is not at one of those crossings, the only part of 67 they can hit is going from at Avenue K, H, and C.
I feel like we've said before, it's easier to include everything and we can make changes later. I feel like if the roads are 35 miles per hour and the county is okay with it, then we should be able to drive golf carts on these roads. Later on, if we need to change that, we can amend it. But for the ordinance, I say we. It's so much less confusing now. So that would only exclude Highway 98, except for the 2 crossings, and it would cost thousands of dollars less in crossings.
Yep. Smart.
So that would include, basically, we would take
B and C out.
T, B, and C off. So if you, remember, you all should, I don't want to beat this up, but volume, speed, and type of traffic. We do have Russell here. If anyone wants to hear from him. I won't put him on.
Do we want to hear from Russell, or have you all made your decision on that? Because if you made your decision, I don't want to belabor it.
What do you guys think?
Well, I'll go ahead and speak to it.
Okay. Go ahead, Commissioner.
I'm listening, and it would make it, what Commissioner Brown has suggested, I've given some thought. It would simplify a lot, make it easier on the golf cart users. I hesitate because of the speed and the straight direction with no stop signs on those roads, and people have a tendency to go fast. Traditionally, the use of those roads by golf carts has been used. So I have a tendency, and I hesitate, but I have a tendency to want to try it. And if police officers come back to us and it's an issue, we'll make an adjustment. That's my feeling.
Comment, Commissioner Gray?
I feel the same way. I feel golf carts have been using these roads. We've been okay. We haven't had major accident. I think we should go forward with the easier process and make amendment later if we have to.
Okay. And Commissioner Walden?
I just want to say that you want to go down 67 and you adult, fine, but I don't know if I'd let my 14-year-old youngin' on a golf cart go down Highway 67, but that's up to the parent.
It is.
I mean, personally, I would, now, a grown person wants to get on it, take off down it, go for it, but I wouldn't let my 14-year-old, 15, or 16. But I don't have children no more, so I have grandchildren, and they don't live in the city, so that's just my opinion. But yeah, I'd say let's open it up and see how it goes.
Okay, and I will say that I live on Ryan Drive, and it is wild out there. And the Mack trucks, when they come through, those big delivery trucks, they are getting paid per delivery, and they are pushing it. And I know that the speed limit is, we have such problem areas out there on Tallahassee and Ryan Drive that this board right here authorized radar speed signals to be put out there, flashing signals with major flashing lights on it to tell people how fast they are driving on those two roadways. The speed and the volume of traffic, I mean, I have watched some of we have a security camera facing out front. And I've sat and watched that, and we have over a vehicle come by our house once a minute, 2 vehicles a minute, and I mean, they are not going 35. They're going 45, 50, and 55. And it's in a residential area. And I watch golf carts come there and turn at the corner of C and pull out on Ryan Drive. And they're puttering along at 8, 10 miles an hour trying to get up speed. And I am just not in the mood, me, Brenda, to sign an ordinance that is going to willingly allow the potential of making pizza pie out of somebody on Ryan Drive, where I live. And I just don't, I am not in agreement with that. I mean, if people, it's just as they've all talked about, they've used Ryan Drive, Tallahassee Street, they've used every street in Carrabelle since this state statute was enacted in 83 or 86, I can't remember what you said Tuesday night. It's been done illegal since then for 40 years. I think it was 83, almost 40 years. Golf carts have been used illegal in Carrabelle. Everybody has looked the other way. And it's not our fault here that it wasn't taken care of years ago. This board right now has the courage to step up to the plate with our chief of police and attack this controversial issue and take care of it and start working on it. But I'm just not happy with us, without doing any type of an analysis, a speed study, a volume and type of traffic study, just to, okay, well, we'll allow it and we'll see what happens. So otherwise, I like the ordinance as it is now. The age, you all know that I expressed I like an age older, and I know Commissioner Walden would. But we're going to work with that and hope that the parents are responsible. But if we go with all of these roadways wide open for golf carts, I will be voting no on this. And I will be asking that we have signature lines for every commissioner on the ordinance. It's got my signature line only, and I don't want it to be my legacy if someone is killed because of decisions made by others. Okay? And Commissioner Brown wants to ask a question.
Dan, because we're not sure about the 30 miles per hour or 35 miles per hour, could you check on that? And then if it is 30 miles per hour, then that would solve that problem?
Yes, it would.
I will get to the bottom of that.
That way, and then if it is 30 miles per hour, we can keep the B and C in there? With just the crossover?
And then we would have to add Timber Island, Airport Road, River Road, maybe we want to make.
There would be exceptions?
We might, I might suggest a suggestion for CR 30 because we don't have that high traffic there.
Well, they're 35 miles per hour, so they wouldn't be allowed to drive on those.
That's true, that's true, so, it's CR 30, you know, they like to go along there.
And they couldn't, they don't need to cross.
No, they don't need to cross it. And then meanwhile, we need to address this preliminary cost estimate. Thank you for doing that so quickly. We appreciate that. As soon as we got that information from the DOT, I asked Courtney to send a request to you. Thank you so much, Russell. I'll let you review that with us.
All right, thank you. The cost estimate we prepared is only for the US 98 crossings. And we had identified 4 there, and that would be at the 4th Street boat ramp, Tallahassee Street, Southeast 3rd, and 5th Street.
We only had 2.
Okay. Forgive me, those are the existing pedestrian crossings, so I assume that you would do those. But so if there were only 2, and I'll preface this also by saying, I'm assuming that you would hire a contractor to install these. So we've got a line item for mobilization, and then some contingency items. But if your streets and roads staff are able to install these signs, it would be much cheaper. So if your staff is going to install these signs, I think we're looking at about $6,000 for 2 crossings. And there are 4 signs at each crossing. Those are yellow advisory signs.
Okay.
With a second bottom panel, sorry.
All right, and then the DEP requires a full engineered study to be submitted. Right. Now, does this $6,000 include that full engineered?
No, that. Please forgive me.
That's all right.
The study, I think we can do that for $2,600.
And is that for a study
that would
for
be
each location?
Yes, the traffic patterns are generally consistent among each of those, so yes.
So it would be $2,600 for what we're looking at is Southeast 3rd and 4th Street. $2,600 for Southeast 3rd and $2,600 for 4th Street.
No,
okay.
That would be $2,600 for both.
And And then, if you submit the initial letter request for both, would that include that 2,600
Yes.
initial letter?
Right.
It's called in here, Courtney, Keisha. Well, please.
Johnny's got it.
Okay. Then what if they, they can, I looked at that flow pattern in there, in that email.
Right.
They can deny, we can submit the initial letter of request, and DOT can deny that, and then we would have to go back and request another location, is that correct?
That's correct.
So then what?
It is a DOT facility, and we would be at their mercy to demonstrate that we satisfy the criteria to include the crossing. So if not at those two locations, we would, we would have some additional discussion with them and maybe determine that another location is more suitable.
And they might say one location. They might deny one and say you can have,
Right.
We don't know, it's at their
Right,
discretion.
and I think the first step there would be to have a pre-application meeting with them and get an idea of where their thought process is.
Okay, how does that sound to you all?
Sounds all right.
So we could just guesstimate 10,000 or less, just, like a budgeting. Do we have any idea where we're gonna get the 10,000? I guess we'll address it when it comes to it.
Dan's going along.
Okay.
That's right.
I'm just kidding. But yes, we
Okay,
definitely would have to figure out where we're gonna fund it.
yeah. All right.
So where we at now?
Well, I would say once we have our public hearings and adopt the ordinance, then Russell can start working on the permitting from the DOT. We don't need to do that until we know we've adopted the ordinance. Yes, sir.
Also, keep in mind, we have to still have signs throughout the city marking appropriate and to indicate such operation.
So we know you got 30 signs for about $1,000. Oh, and I wanted to say that Miss Nikki Millender suggested that you use Sign Design in East Point for your signs. Okay.
Is the county not available for us to make signs anymore?
They do our street signs, but they don't do our parking signs and such.
And those would be like a specialty sign, or like your really cute Sands Park signs that you did.
Or the truck route signs that we put up. They
So-
just do the green, street names, that's all they do for us.
So, still, at what we're looking at now, we could probably get, will we need 60 signs?
I have no idea what's required.
Okay. Yes, sir.
I would recommend that the city use a standard MUTCD sign. That's a uniform traffic control device. So it's the same sign that you would see in Idaho that you would see here in Carrabelle. It's a consistent sign to notify the drivers that there are golf carts in the roadway. So that's a yellow advisory sign. That's what I would recommend.
Okay.
And we can help determine where the locations would be most appropriate, and maybe we don't need that many. Maybe we don't need 30 if we're using a proper MUTCD.
That's my next question is where and how many?
Right.
And we do order these off of a website that's for municipalities that have this, so they're
Okay.
the same everywhere.
Okay.
And Miss Julie caught my eye, and I just wanted to mention, we didn't mention it, and I had made a note of it, that there is no mention of driver's license in this new draft amended ordinance. So no driver's license is required in this particular ordinance. at this point.
And, okay, yeah, that's good.
So, we'll just, we've got the numbers, we've got kind of an idea here of 10,000 at this point. Do we all agree on that at this point? We'll figure out where the money comes some other day. So, how, do we want to see another final before we how can you advertise this if you don't have a final?
We only advertise the heading, and then your first reading, you're still able to make changes.
Okay.
The final reading is final, so we could go ahead and advertise the heading, and if you needed to make changes at the first reading, we could still do that.
And you say December the 15th would be?
That would be the soonest I could, my deadline is Friday by noon, so I'd have to advertise this Friday, and it would run on the 8th. And then you have to have 7 days after it runs for first reading and 10 days before second reading. So the 15th would be the soonest we could get this back up for first reading. And then they've changed the rules a little bit, so you only have to run one advertisement. So we could have the first reading on the 15th and the 16th have the second reading if you wanted to, but you usually don't want to do that because you've got changes going on. So you could do it the next week, anytime after the 15th, you can do your second reading.
Mr. Hartman, can you be here on the 15th?
Yes.
Well, does this, now you know I'm going to be voting no, but what about the rest of you? Do you all want to go ahead and have Mr. Hartman draw up a draft amendment for the 15th?
Yes.
Okay, do you want to vote on that?
I make a motion, Mr. Hartman, go ahead.
And me go ahead and advertise?
We'll do that.
Okay,
in a
separate,
minute.
okay.
Oh, yeah, you go ahead and advertise.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
6 p.m. on Thursday.
What time?
15th.
Okay, now, let's have this vote here. We're going to have Mr. Hartman draw up a draft amendment, and Ms. Keisha's going to advertise that draft amendment for December the 15th. I don't know what time y'all want to do that.
Do we do 5?
It's 5 p.m.
Me.
Okay. Is there any other discussion? Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
And I oppose. Okay, and that motion carries. Now we need a motion to have a special meeting or a public hearing.
I'll make some motion.
Are there any, we need to have some.
I've got a few of them, but I don't know if maybe they're...
Y'all want to have a comment?
You're good.
Miss Judy wants to have a comment.
Jason,
And speaking to the microphone, Miss Judy.
Yes, I got a lot to say. Yeah, well, where I live at, on 304 Northeast First Street, there is no light, like, it's completely dark. I'm gonna, like, tell y'all straight up, it's completely dark. So, like, we need some street lights for real, like, street lights. And I also gotta tell y'all, the main cars, the people that's been speeding through the stop signs, we need to do something about the cars speeding through the stop signs. We also need to do something about the motorcycles, the four-wheelers, all that, because they've been speeding, crazy speeding. And yes, my name is Julie. I was Granddaddy's daughter. I am not a kid. I am 26 years old. But we just need to do something about all them speeding people. Because I'm not one of them. My golf cart is electric. It does not go very fast like the gas ones do, but the gas ones go very fast. If we can get a speed on, if we can put a certain speed on the gas ones, it would be really good. That's all I got to say.
Okay, Miss Julie, would you tell us your last name as well for the record?
Dieselhorst.
Okay. And Miss Julie, please come back. I want you to come back to our meetings and
Yes,
see what we
ma'am, I
do
will.
here.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am, I will.
Thank you. It's a
You're
pleasure
welcome.
to have you. right, so we need to have a motion then, or is there another?
Chase, did you need Vance? Of course. Of course.
Vance Pedrick. Good evening. Two things caught my attention with Bryan Drive and Tallahassee Street. What happens with the residents who live in the middle of a block? That kind of landlocks them if we shut off those roads. Because if we have crossings on them and they don't live on a corner, they can't get to those crossings. And if I remember correctly, and this is a compromise, so some might like it, some might not. If we come back and Dan finds out the speed limit's 30 miles an hour, I believe once upon a time, one of the commission board members have tried to get speed limits lowered, especially on Ryan Drive. So if it is 30 miles an hour, why not entertain dropping the speed limit? We know people speeding. We've heard everybody discuss that. And we want it to be safe as possible. We want to give the citizens the right to ride their golf carts. SR 30, Timber Island, you already see them everywhere. So how about we compromise a little bit, take an extra 2 minutes for those who follow the speed limit to get where you're going, and just drop the speed limit to match the Florida statute. Got a question for the chief, if you don't mind. How many major accidents have you seen with golf carts and the city limits?
One so far.
And how many years?
A year and a half.
Okay, do we know any other than years prior to that?
Don't have that information.
So, I think we have a pretty good track record, but speeding is a problem on Ryan Drive and Tallahassee Street. I watched a dog get ran over the other day, and I live on 67, and the mayor lives on Ryan Drive. So, my compromise is, if the city wants this on all the roads, and that's what we want, both vehicles and golf carts, I think we have to compromise somewhere. And I think this is a chance to do that compromise and adjusting the speed limit, and then making sure that whichever law officers are out there are enforcing it. Thank you all.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. And in response, I have literally begged several of these commissioners on this board to lower the speed limit to 25, and at least we did on Ryan Drive, because it's dangerous over there. And that request was denied, but maybe we can entertain that in the future. We are putting some radar signs out there to let folks know exactly how they're going. That's all I have to say about that.
That was all public.
Yeah. Any other public comment? Any other public comment?
Yes, ma'am, how about lowering the speed?
Do not speak out, yell out, come up to your, ma'am, if you want to speak, you can come to the podium. Do not yell out.
I've got Greg Christopherson.
I mean, you all have been in training for how many years now?
Just a quickie. Earlier when you said that if you had an issue with the younger 14-year-olds and you're going to get an attorney general opinion, there's no cost for that, is there, Mr. Hartman?
No, other than my time. That's all.
Your time. Just a suggestion, if you had a problem, now you got to wait 6 months for an opinion. Why don't you just go ahead and get the opinion? Leave it at 14, but just get the opinion. You can have that in your pocket in case something happened.
Now, the only, and this is, I got interesting, they changed the requirements for an opinion just recently. And again, this isn't a big deal, but it would be more expensive than it used to be. Meaning you see the old days when you just send a letter, that was what I've done in the past. Now you have to give your own opinion, you've got to back it up with all kinds of research and everything else. They require basically you to do a whole bunch of work that they would normally do in advance. So
just a thought.
But that's fine. I mean, yeah, of course I'll do whatever the commission tells me to do there. But it's not,
I'm
it
sure
isn't,
you'd
it
like
isn't
it.
an hour-long letter, right? Yeah.
If we're lowering the speed limit, how about Highway 67, they fly out there?
Okay, well, we're not lowering it right now.
Oh, I
It's just a
understand.
suggestion. But we know.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Messick. That was Ms. Messick, I don't know, I can't remember her first name. Thank you.
I have one comment that I've heard about the speed limits, and we're not here tonight to discuss lowering speed limits. That's not on our agenda. But as a commissioner, I have a comment about speed limits. I feel like our 35-mile-an-hour speed limit on 67 and Ryan Drive and River Road is adequate. What I see and what I hear from most citizens, everyone has a different view, is not the 35 people that drive 35 and less. It's the people that's exceeding the heck out of it, and not just by 2 or 3 miles an hour. And again, I'm not throwing anything over to our police department, but the point is, that's a law enforcement issue. It has to be dealt with. And they can't be everywhere all the time. But you have to work it and patrol it. When you have an issue, when you have a spot or a location within the city that stop signs are being run frequently, speeders, careless driving on whatever vehicle they're on, our officers are going to have to concentrate on that. And those are the kind of issues that would help us in a lot of ways within our city. That's a statement I need to make.
Okay, we need to motion for a December the 15th special meeting at 5 p.m.
I motion to approve that.
Okay, we have December the 15th, 5 p.m. for the first hearing. Okay, on that draft golf cart ordinance, and that motion is by Commissioner Brown. Do we have a second to have that December the 15th meeting at 5 p.m.?
Second.
Okay, and we have that by Commissioner Gray. And is there any discussion on that meeting time? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? And that motion carries. All right then, we have, and that's the last of that discussion. We'll talk about it again on December 15th, except the chief is raising his hand.
I just wanted to say something real quick. With those radar signs that you spoke of, we have those in. We hope to have them installed by the end of next week. I've got to coordinate that with Dustin. So the citizens of Carrabelle will see those, one placed on Ryan Drive, one placed on Tallahassee Street, which will help slow down a lot of the speeders.
Hopefully it will. And I will make a recognition for the public record. We have one police officer per shift. So we have one police officer that patrols the entire city of Carrabelle per shift. And we know they do a good job, and I guess you're on duty tonight, so you're not out patrolling, you're in here patrolling the chambers. Thank you very much. So I know they do a good job of trying to take care of the whole city on their own. They do get some deputy backup when they have a call. And thank y'all for your service. Item 2 under old business is approve, disapprove the HR committee recommendations for a new job description for a CRA employee. And then number 2 is to approve the CRA landscape manual that was revised to accommodate a CRA city employee rather than a contractor. So have you all had an opportunity to review these documents?
Yes.
I know I have. Certainly reviewed them in detail and sent back, and the HR committee has reviewed them in detail, and Mr. Magnan is still here, and we appreciate his volunteer service and to help get those set up for us. Do we want to entertain a motion to accept the job description for the CRA employee, landscape maintenance employee? Is that what the title is, Ms. Courtney? Do we want to have a motion for that?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, all right, Commissioner Walden.
I'll second.
Okay, and that's for the new job description. And is there any discussion? And that motion is by Commissioner Walden, second by Commissioner Millender. Is there any discussion?
I just want to say, and I know y'all might not agree, but I think we're going to have a really hard time finding someone to fill this position with this description for that rate of pay. And I think maybe we should also consider, if that doesn't work out, how to move forward with our current landscape maintenance, expanding into the full CRA district.
And we'll try this first, and if it doesn't work, I think we have some other options.
Yeah, I'm just like her. I read this description. This is not hiring somebody to run a weed eater.
Yeah.
You require this person to do a lot of skilled labor. So good luck if we find one for that price. But
I think though.
I do think but then we got a problem. You got other employees that ain't making that much money, it's been here, and they gonna think, well, so you gotta take that into consideration too. You don't wanna, I don't know how to say this, hire somebody making more than a man that's been here 2 years.
Correct.
Even though he's required to do 3 times the work. But they have the option to transfer it over into that department now if we do this. I want to just say, I'm kind of concerned we're not going to find somebody to do what's in that. It's a good, I mean, it's good manual, don't get me wrong. But we're going to require them to do a lot. But let's try it and see if it works.
Well, I will say, and we can try it, that the manual was developed for the contractor, so that there would be, when you have a contractor doing work, you've got to have that thing outlined.
I understand that.
And those jobs, though, I think we discussed at the CRA, it's really not any different than what our streets and roads are doing. What our streets, it's just, we have taken it to the nth degree, and we've analyzed every minute movement that the streets and roads work crew member does and put that on paper, and it ended up being that way for a contractor. And that's what our streets and roads department. And let's remember back, and you know, our streets and roads department managed our CRA before we got a contract.
Before we started contracting, Little William, the supervisor at the time, and him and Edmund, and the inmates did this job. We didn't have a contractor.
Right.
But we did have DO Department of Corrections was sending us 20 inmates a day too.
Yes.
And using a contractor was a way for us to relieve the streets and roads department and put some work into the CRA district and use CRA money to pay. We discussed that if we use city staff and we want to try to use CRA money to help relieve the city budget, they have to keep a meticulous log on what the hours that they put in the CRA district.
I just want to say that I do think this is a good idea, and because we're expanding this, basically going to cover half the city. Anyhow, so let's just hope that we do find somebody that will take this job. We will only know till we advertise it.
That's right. You have something to say, Commissioner?
Oh, I did, but y'all are doing a good job.
You know, contractors around here, they have a problem getting help. So it's not that easy. I remember a time when a city job come up, you have a stack of applications like that. It's not like that no more. Why, I don't know. Let's try it and see.
Yeah, the only thing I'll comment on is, in reiterating exactly what the mayor said, we discussed this same subject at the CRA meeting, and I think if we're gonna do different, the CRA, we need to discuss it back there again. I reviewed everything that you guys have reviewed, and I see it a little bit differently. Where the terms being used, they're gonna do a tremendous amount more work than a traditional streets and roads guy. I don't see it that way. I see in that position description, and I see in that manual some different types of work.
than what our streets and roads guys do, but not necessarily more in volume, but a different type. Theirs is gonna be based more on landscaping than streets and roads is. Okay? But I still see the jobs very compatible.
Similar.
Very similar. And
It just-
there is no comparison between one of our city employees and having 10 inmates.
But once you
There is
read the
no
manual,
comparison.
it does go way beyond what you said.
It gets into detail on what they're
Yeah.
supposed to do. But the amount of work's still gonna be the same, it's different. But anyway, that's all I have to say.
And you're right, I'm not arguing with you that, I read the manual and it just covers a lot of ground. Now, whether they do all that, our mayors will see to that.
And it covers a lot of grass growing in cracks and sidewalks as well. I know you read that too.
Yes, it covers a lot.
Above and beyond.
Mr. Gray, did you have anything to say, sir?
No.
Okay, all right. So we have a motion by Commissioner Walden, second by Commissioner Melander to approve the job description for the CRA. And is there any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? And that motion carries. And so now we'll come to the CRA landscape manual, which I think you read as well.
Yes, yes.
And I read it, and I actually wrote the original CRA landscape manual many years
You've
ago.
done a good job.
But not, now it's been revised plenty of times since then. So, by staff and even by Russell revised it. He's the one that took it to the nth degree and got it all detailed. You even put how many minutes you could use the blower or something. So, do we want to entertain a motion for this CRA landscape manual that's been revised to fit an employee?
I'll make a motion to approve that landscape manual.
Okay. Okay, and that motion is by Commissioner Walden, second by Commissioner Melander. Is there any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, and that motion carries. All right then, is there any other business? Any other business?
I have.
Yes.
I was just sitting here trying to get my ad together, so I made sure I had it in by my deadline tomorrow. And in the ad, it mentions the second reading, so
So we need to schedule that?
we need to go ahead and figure out when we're gonna do our second reading, so that.
Well, it's set on Facebook, January the 5th.
Okay.
It's already posted.
Which is already a public meeting. Okay, that's all I needed. If
At our regular
everybody-
commission meeting.
Right.
Any more business?
Brenda,
Yes.
you had talked the other night about making an exception for the holiday on the harbor, that, I don't know if y'all need to address that.
I don't know, I'll speak to the attorney
I'll
on
be the
that.
Grinch on that.
I beg your pardon?
I'll be the Grinch on
Okay.
that. We cannot. So
Okay.
we either have an ordinance or we don't, designating what roadway is called personally owned, so status quo would go
Okay.
right on through that.
All right. Adjourned.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.